Okay guys, so today we're going to be going through the hip raised press ups from a deficit. Now this is a variation and progression from the typical hip raised press ups that we've used before. Basically a calisthenic variation of a vertical pushing movement. You want to focus on assuming the press up position initially with your hands approximately shoulder width apart, if not slightly narrower on this one, just to keep that stability around the shoulder. You want to focus on generating tension throughout your abdomen. Keeping your hands fixed in place, slowly walk your feet in and allow your hips to raise up. So keeping your legs relatively straight, allow your hips to raise as high as possible. The higher the hip position, the more challenge that there's going to be on your shoulder joint as opposed to going through your chest. From here, you want to focus on keeping your head relatively neutral. A lot of people try and look at the ground, okay? What this actually does is create a little bit of extension within the cervical spine and doesn't necessarily allow for the full recruitment of the shoulder. So just keep your head relatively neutral. What I tend to recommend is for people to look at their hands, which means they've not got their head all the way through, but they're not keeping it excessively extended either. Then from here, keeping that hip height position fixed, keeping your abs nice and tight, you're simply going to lower yourself down towards the ground. Now, with the deficit variation, obviously your hands are going to be on blocks. The higher the block, the greater the deficit, the more challenge there's going to be because there's going to be a longer range of motion. So it's something to bear in mind. I recommend for people to start on a relatively low block and then they can progress to a higher one, as you can see here. Again, the focus should be slow, steady control all the way through the movement and never relax. Okay, so when you get your head towards the ground, a lot of people make the mistake, you'd be surprised, of resting their head on the floor, okay, and trying to relieve a little bit of tension around the shoulder. There has to be constant time under tension in the shoulder joint for it to stay stable, the same as you would if you were to do the military press. Again, like I said, just to reiterate, the higher the deficit, the more difficult it's going to be, the more stress that there's going to be placed on the shoulder, so it's just something to bear in mind.